and gentlemen, we are live. It is your favorite dark sorcerer here. And today, I kind of want to talk to you about a couple of things: energy raising and time. Okay. In my experience, these are the most basic rituals that you learn as a neophyte, an acolyte, a beginner. And they're often overlooked. They're not pursued by the beginners. A lot of the questions that come my way is always about time. It's always about that energy. Perhaps it's not raised enough. Maybe it's too little. It's what if or what if. You know what I'm saying? So I figured I'd take a moment and kind of walk you through this, okay, in the next step of the Warlock series. So let us start first with energy, okay? Namely, because of the fact that energy is all around us. It is not just around us, it's in us. It is one of the most untapped sources of your imagination. It's your particular form of sorcery that goes into a wide range of things from evocations, invocations, ceremonies, rituals, even protection rites. Okay. And it's even when you are doing rites of, say, let's say, for an example, you're creating a totem, you're creating a talisman, you're charging the talisman after you've cleansed it, after you've given it the name and a purpose. Okay. A lot of times when you do this, you're not raising the necessary energy. And this is something that could be overrated a lot of the time, but it is something that is also very positive. Okay. And this is why. Have you ever wondered when you are meditating, out of an example here, why, when you become unbalanced, unhinged, did you ever wonder why you're not grounded? Why you're not focused? Perhaps it's because you're emotionally unhinged. Your magic can be the same way, okay? And this normally comes from not being centered, not being grounded, not raising that necessary energy barrier, the astral shield, if you will, okay? And a lot of times when this comes down, it is your aura that can protect you from baneful sorcery. It could protect you from wild, let's just call it the way it is. I believe it was Aleister Crowley that described it as a dagger throwing. Okay. And in this case, if we think about demonolatry, let's take Astaroth for an example. Astaroth's breath is so toxic that you have to wear a silver ring, okay? A silver ring when you summon him. And you have to hold it close to your face to protect you from his foul breath because it is like daggers, okay? Picture your aura when your chakras and your kundalini is 100% balanced, okay? 100% balanced. Perhaps even 80% at best, okay? This is where you, as the adept, are able to gain that energy. Okay. It comes from within. Think of yourself as a pulsating star. You are the center. Your soul is the center. And that energy of your chakras, consider it discs. That's the best way that a lot of people like to explain it. Okay. Discs of various different colors from the root to the crown. Your heart and throat chakras are most important, especially in rites and rituals. So you do need to have these fully opened. It is like having your third eye opened when you are working with demons or any other spiritual entity. Okay. So when you're doing a rite to, say, for an example, charge a totem, a talisman, or amulet, perhaps even a crystal, where do you think you're channeling all that energy from? Okay. You're taking it from your life breath, from one source, and directing it into another. Okay. Now, I'm going to give you another example here that will go along with this. A great, a great depiction of energy transference is the right hand gives and takes, whereas the left hand solely takes. Okay. When you hear the term vampiric or psychic vampire, as Anton LaVey so colorfully put it, their only purpose is to drain you of your current, your energy, your chi. Okay. So this here is how they do it. They do it with their left hand and they just keep absorbing. It could be done by a simple touch. It could be their palm is directed towards you. They could even be giving you that eye, the evil eye. Okay. Either way you look at it, their only sole purpose is to drain you of your energy, your life force, your chi. They are taking it, they are draining you so they can sustain their stupidity, their life of foulness. Okay? Now, why did I just call it foulness? If you look at vampiric practices, specifically that of the psychic vampire, all they are is like a leech. Okay? Their only job is to create drama and chaos. There's nothing beneficial there. So if you are at work and you have that one coworker that makes everybody's lives a living hell, okay? Management, well, that's just management for you because it's the way they've been trained. But we're focusing on that one individual. That energy current that they're tapping into is called psychic vampirism. Their job is to make you feel depressed. Their job is to make you not feel good, make you feel like you don't want to be at work. They are draining you of that life force, much like Dracula would do or any other vampire would do with your blood, okay? From, say, Hollywood produced films. Picture that. They're draining you of your life force, but more so with energy transference. Even if you're doing a ritual or a ceremony, it is often mistaken, especially in today's world with these young pups who think it's all about getting laid. Okay. It's all about sex. It's all about gender. It's all about this and that, and not about the actual rites and rituals. Because if they'd actually taken the time to, say, for an example, study the Black Mass, they would realize that yes, in Satanism, if a priestess is performing the rite, then the priest would be the living altar. And if a priest is being the living, being the conductor of the ceremony, then the woman would be the living altar. Okay. Now, a lot of times when we hear about the Black Mass, they think, oh, it's all about orgies, it's all about sex. Well, number one, that would defeat the purpose of the ritual that you are trying to complete and to achieve as an outcome. Okay. Let's say, for an example, you're going for a better job, perhaps maybe trying to gain financial stability. Okay. The last thing you want to do is something that is going to deplete your energy. So, having that orgasmic climax would defeat the purpose of any given ritual, rite, or anything else that you're trying to accomplish through your ceremonies, through your rituals. In this case, the point behind any given ritual or ceremony is to raise as much energy as possible to fling it out into the nexus for the outcome of your desire. Like I said, that could be anything from, say, for an example, a lust rite, a compassion rite, or a destruction rite. Either way you look at it, these three rites can be broken down into dozens of rituals, independent rituals and rites, I should say. So to have that energy depleted before you make that climax, that's not wise. That's just a waste of time. And like I said, I found that a lot of these newbies that come in, they're expecting things to happen like pushing a easy button, flipping a switch on a light switch. And yet nobody wants to do the work themselves. Which brings us to the second aspect, time. Everybody is obsessed with time. It does not matter what it is topic wise, because you're always rushing to go to a doctor's appointment. You're always rushing to be on time for a meeting. You're always trying to rush on time to do everything that you need to do for a ritual. And you're expecting a certain amount of time to perform a ritual of invocation or evocation or any spell casting in general. This is a lie. You see, time has no meaning in the ritual room. When you're out in the world, all you got is time. Everybody's in a hurry. Do you know how many accidents, car accidents, pedestrians getting hit by cars when you're only going 25 miles an hour in a city? Do you? Think about that for just a minute. Everybody is in such a hurry. They gotta be somebody. They gotta be somewhere, and it's gotta be at a certain time. They don't have the patience to sit for a red light, so they cut through a parking lot. Oops, there's a pedestrian. Sorry, I just ran your ass over. Oh no, now you're in trouble with the legal system. You see what I mean? You're adding pressure on yourself, undue pressure, undue stress. You're adding things to a situation that does not have to be there. In the words of a former employer, you need to learn to relax. Okay? But the difference between the laws of the mundane and the laws of the spiritual nature are two different distinct things. Because when you go in to that ritual room, that inner chamber, to perform a rite or ritual, time has no meaning. I've gone in there and 4 hours have passed to the point where my better half has come in and say, "Hey, are you up?" Knocked on the door and say, "Hey, are you okay?" You still alive in there? My better half is I've literally gone into my ritual chamber and come out 4 days later because I'm focused, so intent on the worship and the summonings and the rituals of those spirits that I work with, that time really doesn't have any influx whatsoever there. It has no meaning. And the more that you get into rituals and rites, you'll realize that there is no time limit. Spirits only come to you when they're ready. You will work your ass off just to invoke or manifest the spirit in your life, into your ritual chamber. But how do you do that if you don't take moments to learn what you're doing? Again, going right back to basics. Things that you should already know within the first month before you even begin to erect an altar or to summon a spirit of any kind. You should already know that these spirits come to you on their own time. Zaniel made me wait a long time. I'm talking months before he even revealed himself to me. And he's the teacher of witchcraft from the Grimoire of Armadale. Time limit when it comes to rituals and rites, for an example. I've had clients come to me wanting me to perform rites and rituals for them. 9 times out of 10, it is a baneful sorcery type thing. I'm talking curses, hexes, jinxes. But on other times, it's more domination, compassion type thing. Sometimes it's a lust ritual. And as I stated in the past video, that's not my forte. I don't do love rituals that much. I know how to do them, I can perform them, but it's not my forte. But when I do the service for these individuals, they expect it to happen within an hour. Again, magic does not serve time. Spirits do not go by time. Why should you? I had a client that was molested by her father, and this was years ago. She wanted retribution. So I did the right. I did a hex on him because she didn't want to kill him. She wanted a specific thing to happen. Within a couple of hours, she cut back to me and she said, "Nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. Why did you do the ritual wrong? Did you do this wrong?" And I told her that rites and rituals take time. Once you cast that spell, you're sending it out into the ether. You're sending it out to the universe for it to happen. It has a whole nother ball game that you and I don't have. You see, you and I may want something to happen now, but when the universe steps in, it has its own time. Magic has its own timetable. In the instant, in this particular instant, she came back to me the next morning and said that this guy looked like death. He was white, pale, had almost no color to his skin. It was like somebody just ripped out his soul. His, well, let's just say he lost, the lead in his proverbial pencil, so to speak. A week later, he's still looking like this. He's lack of energy, lack of this, and lack of that. And she realized what I meant. Just because you want it to happen now does not mean the universe or the spirits that you summon for that particular rite or ritual is going to make it happen that instant. It doesn't work like that. You can do a lust ritual to bring an individual into your life, expecting it to just happen today. You just set yourself up for failure. Why? Because you're expecting something that the universe has not prepared yet. Think of the universe as a pot of soup. Do you just tip the pot up and empty it out to get to all the goodies? Or do you have to prepare the soup? Do you see the point? You're the one that carves the potatoes, the carrots, the let's say, for an example, lettuce or cabbage. You're the one that's preparing the water in the beef sauce or the stew, you know, mix. You're the one cutting up the meat. You're the one making that stew. By doing repeated rituals on the same topic, all you're doing is clogging the pipe, so to speak. You're just putting a cover over that pot and not allowing it to happen naturally. You see that a lot of people do this, and you'd be surprised just how many. It is downright funny. At least to me, it is. Just to see the arrogance of these people who claim to have been practitioners for almost a decade. You've been a practitioner for 2, 3 years, then you should already have the knowledge that I'm speaking right now. You can't expect something to happen like that. I had a guy, I did a rite for him. And I told him, you're going to meet a woman and you're going to have a child within just a couple of years. Guess what? 7 years later, 7 years later, this guy had left the state and come back to the state. I was in the window at Dunkin' Donuts at the time. He rolled through my window and he says, "You remember me?" I said, "Yeah, I did a ritual for you." He said, "I wanted to thank you. You not only did a tarot card reading for me, but you did that right. And I wanted to show you, this is my wife. This is my kid. I wanted to thank you for that." You see, he didn't put a time limit on it. He didn't expect it to happen right away. He didn't expect it to happen within 5 years or even 4 years. In this case, he ended up meeting her 2 years after we spoke. They were married within a year and a half. And a year later, they had a child. The child was 3 years old by the time they came through the window. This is what happens when you tell time to go fuck itself, so to speak. This is what happens when you raise the correct amount of energy and know what you're doing from energy transference through rituals. It's called transfiguration. It's alchemy. It's basic alchemy. Time does not play a factor in it. Because the way I break it down for my clients is like this: there's your will, your client's will, the spirit's will, and then you have the universe's will. And if the universe doesn't want it to happen, well, guess what? You're screwed. Just because you want something to happen doesn't mean it will. Not everybody is made out to be a parent. Not everybody is made out to be in a relationship with someone else. A lot of times, some people are better off by themselves. Others are better off locking themselves away in seclusion to study the magics and the rituals. You look at the old mages and sages. Why did they lock themselves away? You take the black pellet for an example. An old man living in a pyramid, studying magic, spiritual conjuration, ended up with everything he wanted and shared his knowledge with a reporter who took that knowledge and spent the next 40 years studying magic and doing the exact same thing to pass that knowledge down to his next generation. Every grimoire out there has something to offer you. Personalized experiences from modern day practitioners, the way that they've seen it, and the way they've experienced it, to grimoires going back as far as the Munich manuscripts, going as far back as the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Talmud, the Mishra, the Zohar. There's a lot of rituals and rites that have been noted, recorded, and performed throughout the world's histories, religions, philosophies, even down to the cults. Why do you think, for an example, that Isis is considered to be the mystic mother? She was the one that found Anubis, nurtured him, raised him. He became the personification of death in Egyptian mythology. In the Grimoire of Ra, which was a text where Ra not only slaughtered Osiris, but dismembered him. She's the one that nursed him back together, literally put him back together. Reanimation, necromancy, brought the dead back, taught witchcraft. Together they gave an entire generation of gods, including Horus, one of my favorites. I call him a warrior because he really is a warrior. Bastet, keeper of cats. Hathor, the mother. Know your history, know your mythology, know the folklores. More importantly, learn the basics before you do anything, before you do any rites or rituals. Because if you don't, you're just going to be joining the fad of the times. You look at the Karens. Do they know anything about what somebody's doing, or do they just look at you and go, "Oh, I don't like you. I'm going to make your life a living hell"? Or, say for an example, look at the fad going on with all these people going to black adepts and saying, black magicians, sorcerers, warlocks, and going, "Hey, I need this done. I'm willing to pay you to do it." Or I'm willing to, I need information. I need advice. How do I go about doing it? But yet, wait, I don't want to do the fucking work. This shit happens. And it's a big issue within the occult community. Don't get drawn into this stuff. Just go out, get the material that attracts you, learn the material, experiment with the material, uh, practice it, and apply it to your life. You'd be surprised at what goes on, especially when you give offerings and sacrifices. For an example, I'm going to give you an example right now on sacrifice. I work hard for my money, okay? I do. I work hard for the money to provide for my son and my better half, to keep a roof over our heads, and most importantly, to make sure that they have everything that they need and desire to have. My better half was wondering where I put the stuff that she asked me to put away. So I called her into my ritual room and I showed her where I had everything. I have a wall that I have for storage stuff and my ritual supplies and all that stuff. So it's pretty easy to do. I just had to maneuver some stuff around. And she was impressed with that aspect until she looked at my altar and realized there's a box literally with money sitting right there. And she points to it and I said, "Why do you think you have such good why do you think you've been having such good luck lately, financial wise? Why do you think all this good stuff is coming to us?" You see, when you give to the spirits, you go in and you worship the spirits, you give them the offerings and the sacrifices that are due. It has nothing to do with time. It's got everything to do with respect. Are you going to go to a sorcerer, perhaps to a grocery store, and just take the food and the clothes and the items that you need for your household without paying? Or are you going to pay somebody for their service? It's called consumerism. Okay, the same thing and the same perspective is done when you are dealing with magic, when you are dealing with spirits, and when you're dealing with, be it the Orisha, the Loa, the Jinn, the Devi, or even the old pagan gods. Even if you're going to a practitioner and paying them for their services, it's a matter of give and take. If you want something, you got to give something in return. It's just the way it is, and it's outstanding and mind blowing to see so many that claim to be practitioners that don't know this stuff. And I strongly believe that it's because these people are following the former creeds of their past lives, their past affiliations. They have not let go of that closed mindedness to even comprehend what they're getting into. If you go to take the time to go to a church of, say, for example, any denomination of the JCI, you'll notice how they do their thing. The tithes, that's just payment for their service. But if you look at the practitioners and how they worship the bastard son or that of the false god, Yahweh, or Allah for that matter, Yazad, you'll notice the rituals. They are sacrificing to get close to that being. You see, personally, I don't have an issue with Christianity or the JCI in general, but I do have an issue with the practitioners of that faith, of those, I should say, faiths, because there's more than one. You have mainstream, the Catholics, the Jehovah Witnesses, all three different classifications. And then you have Hebrewism and Judaism, all different things, but yet Judaism and Hebrew history is surrounded by magic and sorcery, not just animal and human sacrifice. You see, history overlooks that aspect. These people go to church to worship this false god, this false religion, but yet they don't know their own history. They deny it. So when somebody shows them takes a moment to share that current with them, they shun you. You see, again, denial. So you're seeing that pattern of, okay, Christianity is not working out for them. We're going to go into Satanism, or we're going to go into witchcraft. We're going to go into the African Caribbean traditions. Well, this ain't working. Why isn't it well working? Why is my magic not working? Well, number one, did you get initiated into those traditions? Did you leave behind the dogma and the baggage of your past affiliations to begin anew? There's a reason why even the Bible speaks to being reborn, a spirit in water. Why do you think in witchcraft water is considered to be a healing agent, not just one of enlightenment, associated with Leviathan, for an example, or Behemoth? Think about that for just a moment. Why is it that all this has concurring sentiment? Zoroastrianism, the energy to worship a spirit, to perform a rite to that spirit, the time to summon or invoke even a spirit through reanimation or that of conjuration. It takes hours to do. It's not something that you just flip on a light switch and go, oh, I'm done. I've spent at least 2, 3 hours in meditation before I've even lit the candles or incense. Even if I go in and I light the candles, I always meditate beforehand, before I do anything, be it in a desk chair, have a pillow on the floor inside of circle of empowerment, and just meditate. I'll even put on, like, say, Mozart or Beethoven, maybe some ambient music from YouTube, okay? And just allow myself to relax, to become focused in what I'm about to do. Why am I there in my ritual room? Raising, finding that balance, that within my equilibrium, performing mantras, even demonic ends if need be, before I even begin to summon a spirit, before I even begin lighting the incense. I do all this. My better half hates it because I can spend hours, days even, in my ritual room. Even when I'm not in there, I've got my face shoved in books, typing, doing research, studying, preparing for another salvo of rituals and rites towards any number of spirits that I'm working with or about to work with. If I'm about to do a ritual for, say, monetary gain, then I'm going to collect the things, the items that I'm going to need for that particular rite. That's using energy, locating the items. That means going out and finding particular bushes, leaves, things that are out in the wilderness that are considered to be associated with money. For an example, tree bark, or say pine needles, oak leaves. Okay. Finding a four leaf clover is always good because it's the luck of the Irish. Okay. Irish witchcraft, for an example, sorcery, the pot of gold at the end of a rainbow, green, green candles, green items, herbs that can come together within a mojo bag or a Christmas bag that you can carry on you until your pay day comes in. Guess what? That's energy expulsion, but it's good to do to prepare for that rite and ritual that you are planning to do. So by the time you get in there and you meditate, you have all your items. It's a matter of calming yourself. It's a matter of collecting yourself. It's about raising the energy within your inner sanctum, within your inner sanctum, long before you even perform a ritual or a rite. And this is a process that escapes the noobs, the newbies, the acolytes, the neophytes. Because at this stage, they're more interested in me. Me, 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 me. I want, I need. They're not humble enough yet to realize there's a give and take. They want everything now, but yet they don't take the time limit it takes to study, to figure out, okay, the evocation, the circle of evocation, say for an example, let's say the circle of empowerment, the triangle of evocation. What's the difference between a triangle of evocation that's verted and that of inverted? How about the five-pointed star that the world literally uses, but yet has no freaking clue about? Okay. Have you ever looked at the badge on the law enforcement officers? What about the government officials? The pentagram, Wiccans, and pagans use. But yet, we see it every day. Pagan symbols are associated with the world, car companies, car brands, even, like the fish. How do you work with any given spirit if you don't know the tools or the meanings behind the geographic symbols? What was their purpose? Oh, it's a circle of protection. No, it's not. The circle is utilized to empower your rites and rituals. The triangle of evocation is to manifest your desire. The symbols are the balance factor, such as the pentagram, the five elements that come together. Each symbol that you place, be it astrological, perhaps even the zodiac, the planetary symbology. Say, for example, the spirit of the planet, be it the symbol for the planet. Okay, sometimes you'll see the era between, say, the Aries and the Taurus, or, say, for example, Pisces and Aquarius, Mars and Venus, even. Okay, these symbols go together for a reason. Even numerology and ancient alphabets and runes, even hieroglyphics had a purpose that most of you don't even grasp today. And that's the sad part. But I will give it to those who are actually trying, those who are seeking out the knowledge and really applying themselves to their studies, not just their practices, but their studies. Anton Szandor LaVey said it quite frankly, the best. True power is not knowledge is power, and true power is undefiled wisdom. Right there. So how do you perform a rite that you have no knowledge about? What items are you going to need for that rite if you have no clue what type of rite you're doing and you haven't researched? If you don't have the adequate knowledge to perform any ritual, ceremony, or even a black mass for that matter, why are you doing it to begin with? In fact, why would you take on the name of a witch, a warlock, or even the classification of a Satanist? A lot of people hate Satanists. Perhaps it's because they're brutally honest, or they hold their ground because they know what they're doing. That's why they were feared. Why they're feared even today. Have you ever wondered why witches were hunted down and almost exterminated for over 1,000 years? For just about 1,000 years. Now you're looking at 400 years plus another three. So almost a decade. Almost an entire century. Just saying. There's a reason why they're keepers of the secrets, sacred knowledge. Look at the European tradition, the double V, the W, or the double V. Do your homework, do your research. You will know this stuff. And it all plays into energy, and it goes into time frames. A lot of organizations will not promote you if you haven't been a practitioner for a certain amount of time. You see, this is where time does play into your rites and rituals within anything you do, because you consider a lot of the old mages and sages would lock themselves away for almost a decade to master the arcane. Witches would serve, or even warlocks would serve their master for a number of years before they were even permitted to be a master. Okay? There's a time frame on just about almost everything from the physical world. I practiced for 32 years, so there's a time frame for you. I've studied, I've practiced, and I've gotten more from my practices over the last 3 years than I did in 32, because I became dedicated and committed to the spiritual aspects, not the physical mundane, but the spiritual, everything from other dimensions. And that comes with knowing what you're doing so that you can go into your ritual room, have all the items that you'll need, and begin your sorcery. It has nothing to do with sex, it has nothing to do with gender, it has nothing to do with what this mundane plane tries to declare it is. All it is a matter of trying to spin a profit. It's attention seeking, nothing more. Learn your shit before you do anything. Learn it. And if you need guidance to sources on a particular topic, then by all means reach out to somebody who knows what they're doing. Okay? But don't take things at face value. Always back up what you preach with multiple sources. What did I name off? The Mishra, the Talmud, the Dead Sea Scrolls, Munich manuscripts, and here's a few more. Even the Scroll of Amra, the Grimoire of Armadale. Here's a couple more for you. The poetical texts. How about the Black Raven or the Red Book of Appin? Hmm, interesting. How about the Black Pellet, which is also one that I named off? There's your sources. I just backed up what I just preached. They all talk about energy raisings. They all talk about occult symbols. And they all talk about time limits, time frames. Not kidding. Every single one of those grimoires will tell you that there's a certain amount of time that you have to go through abstinence. There's a number of different period of times where you'd have to stay in a circle so a demon doesn't, get you. Because you got to remember that these were times of Christian domination, not like it is today, where here in America we have religious freedoms and religious laws to back up our practices. And they all talk about a number of different types of offerings and sacrifices. There's a reason for it, not just geographical shapes, not just herbalism, not just powders. The Book of Demonolatry by Nicholas Remy, for an example, in chapter 1, talks about three types of powders that were supposedly found on witches during the witch trials. The Discovery of Witchcraft by Reginald Scott, guess what? Names off spirits that you can summon. The three books of occult philosophy by Agrippa. Bam, metals, astrology, numerology. The Black Arts by Richard Cavendish. Same exact thing. But how would you know this if you did not take time to study, to practice, to experiment? Look at the Witch's Creed, the Witch's Oath, the Witch's Pyramid. Hell, all three of those are the same damn thing. To know, to will, to dare, to keep silent, and to go forth. There is a reason for this. If you have the knowledge, use it. If not, seek it out. All right? Gabriel Fisher, welcome to the channel. Now, that's probably because you're looking for something new. You're into a new path. You're into a new something that intrigues you. In a sense, if you're looking at it from a lustful perspective, since you use that word, I'm going to use it, and I'm going to pick on it a little bit. All right, let's say, for an example, you've spent 10 years with the same woman. Doesn't it get stale, old, doing the same old stick? So eventually you're going to meet someone. It's going to intrigue you. It's going to bring out that beast within. But that's where control comes in. That's where focus comes in. That's where dedication to your oath, your pact comes into play. Responsibility to the responsible. So, if we take this analogy and we turn this into a religion, a religious perspective, you mentioned Christianity. You've woken up from that. You've realized that's nothing more than a dead end slavehood. But now you're seeking out knowledge from, say, Wicca, Wiccan, Satanism, witchcraft, perhaps even shamanism, necromancy, the African Caribbean traditions, even. It's exciting because it's new. It's something new that you're getting into. It's something that has your short and curlies up in arms, so to speak. And now you're beginning that journey. You're discovering the things that you previously did not know, things that were fed to you, false dogma, dogma in general, face full of lies, spoonful of lies. Now you're learning, wow, witchcraft ain't evil, it's not of the devil. Satanism has nothing to do with the Christian devil. Witchcraft is elemental. Shamanism is all about healing, herbalism, spirituality, much like necromancy. But yet the church referred to it as the dark arts, black magic, baneful sorcery, the devil's magic. But yet things that I'm experimenting with works. Can't be that bad. It's easy to it's easy to do. Wow. You're beginning your journey, Gabriel. You're learning. It's exciting. I would this is the way I feel every time I come across something new, a topic that I haven't previously practiced. When I got into necromancy 3 years ago, full time, dedicated, it led me through Europe. It led me down into the African Caribbean traditions and right back to my family heritage. Exciting. It took 2 years of study and practice, 3 essays of 4,000 words just through that study. Got into Haitian Voodoo and started working with Papa Gedi from the Gedi family of Loa. Started getting back into Palo Mayumbi and Palo Monte. This let even Santeria, and it took me into Brujeria practices. And I found out I liked Brujeria. I liked the way it made me feel. I liked the way that I was studying it, the way the knowledge connected with my interests, the excitement factor, the lustful look for that knowledge that you're seeking. That's where you're at. That is where you are at, Gabriel. You're still young in the traditions. You got a lot to learn, and you'll grow out of it. You will. But every time you step into a new playing field, guess what? You're going to be right back to that. Well, what's that old expression? That schoolgirl crush, so to speak, because that's basically where you're going to be. Every time you come across something that intrigues you, excites you, and that's the way it's going to be. The only difference is now you're free to express it. Now you're open to these things and you're realizing there's no limit to it. There's no limit. There's no time frame. It's a marathon, not a race. It's not about power. It's not about domination. It's about the knowledge, the wisdom, the spirituality, and the journey that you're undergoing. That is where you are. Enjoy it, my friend. All right. So, with that said, I hope this helps. I hope it's been enlightening. And like I said, whatever you preach, always back it up, and always make yourself available to the public. All right. You're welcome, Gabriel. All right. Have a good day, and till next time.